everyone, and welcome back to the latest edition of CouncilCast, the official podcast of the Council of Insurance Agents and Brokers. I'm Katie Oberkirker on the Market Intelligence team here at the Council. Here with me today is Nick Bellanca, the Executive VP of Sales and Business Development for Wamberg Genomic Advisors. WGA delivers clinical-grade genomic programs and services to employees with the purpose of improving health, wellness, and longevity. Today, we're going to break down the affordances of genetic-based clinical care and how it's evolving the healthcare industry. Nick, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Katie. I greatly appreciate it.
So I want to get started with a big picture question. WGA helps employees make better health decisions and identify areas of increased disease risk by leveraging genomic data. And we've shifted now from focusing on genetic testing itself to being able to interpret and leverage the results of those tests. Can you speak to how genomics has evolved in the last 5 years and provide some information on how these customized genomic programs play a role in long-term preventive care?
Yeah, absolutely. So generally speaking, over the past 5 years, the genetic science has continued to advance and the consumerization of genomics has exploded, as we've all seen. And that's really due in part, to the cost of sequencing dropping over time and a greater focus on the interpretation and reporting for the end user, for the consumer, and for their physician as well. And it's definitely proven that genomic programs can and will play a significant role in preventative health care. I'll share a personal story that actually led to me moving into this field a few years ago. So my wife actually was offered an opportunity through her prior employer to take a hereditary genetic screening test as an employer-offered benefit. Like many people, she was curious as it relates to what her DNA held. She actually was unaware of any family history of diseases such as cancer or heart disease. No immediate family member had been diagnosed with cancer that she was aware of. So she just took the test due to her curiosity, and what she learned was ultimately life-changing and has a significant impact on her healthcare now and in the future. So what she learned is she actually has the BRCA1 mutation, which does put her at a significantly elevated risk for breast cancer and for ovarian cancer. So certainly very tough news to receive. Thankfully, she was able to review those results with her licensed genetic counselor. She was able to share the information with her physician, and now she actually gets ultrasounds done every 6 months, which are covered by insurance, so that if she is ever diagnosed, she'll be able to catch it at an early stage versus a late stage, which will have a huge impact to her survivability, as well as a huge impact to the associated healthcare spend. It's much less expensive to treat an early stage cancer versus a late stage cancer. And for her, like many people, she's very curious and decided to research her DNA even further. So she actually took a much more extensive test called a whole genome sequence, which actually looks at all 6.4 billion nucleotides of her DNA. And what she learned from that test is she actually has a somewhat rare mutation on her MTHFR gene. That's not an abbreviation for what she probably wanted to say when she found out that she had this mutation. She cannot process folic acid. That was extremely helpful as well because we were doing family planning at that time. She actually became pregnant about 1.5 years ago. And as you likely know, pregnant women are typically given more folic acid to help prevent birth defects. And for her, that basically would have been adding fuel to the fire because, again, her body can't process folic acid. It would have built up toxicity for her. So knowing that and sharing that information with her OBGYN, she was able to take a different form of folic acid called methylated folate, which helped reduce that issue and help prevent a potential problem. And there are some studies that show that women that have this specific mutation do have a higher risk of having a miscarriage. So since she had that information, she was able to share with her doctor, change her supplement plan, and ultimately we ended up having a happy, healthy little boy just 1 year ago. So huge impact for her, huge impact for our family as it relates to her learning what her DNA held and taking preventative steps and measures to improve her overall health and well-being.
That's such a great personal story and a really good, tangible success story that really helps us think about how genetics and how genomic testing can really personalize our preventive care. I want to move on now to talk a little bit more about this kind of testing as an employee benefit. So your go-to-market strategy has been to work through the broker and the employer channel to distribute your product. Why did you guys decide to start there? And how does this type of benefit provide an advantage to not only the employer but the broker?
Yeah, great question. So, as we know, the majority of Americans receive their health and wellness benefits from their employer. Therefore, we decided to work through their trusted advisors, benefit consultants, and brokers. We want to make these genomic programs available to the masses, so we're going to where the masses are. So that's why we've decided to work specifically through benefit consultants and brokers. As it relates to the benefits for the employer and the broker, so our solutions are focused on providing clinically actionable information to individuals with oversight from physicians and licensed genetic counselors. So I want to be very clear on that. We're focused on providing clinically actionable information where there's a physician that's involved as well as licensed genetic counselors. And as it relates to employers and offering employee benefits, people want to know what's in their DNA. By 2021, it's expected over 100 million people will have taken a direct-to-consumer genetic test. And actually, a study shows that over 75% of millennials surveyed wanted to know what their DNA holds. And then even more recently, MetLife actually released their latest employee benefits trend survey, and for the first time, genetic testing was included as one of the top emerging benefits based on respondents. So certainly there's interest from employees as well as employers who are looking to offer innovative benefits to attract and retain top talent. Employers want employees to live their best and most productive lives. Also, employers want to be there for their employees when they need support the most. So providing access to genomic programs for prevention and post-diagnosis purposes is a great way to do that. As it relates to brokers, we feel that these types of offerings give them a very new and innovative solution that can help provide actionable results for their clients and their employees. It's really a unique and exciting solution. It's not another item that they would put on a spreadsheet to deliver. It's a true, unique solution. And, simply put, genetic testing is like a GPS for your road to good health. And innovative brokers now have the opportunity to embrace the genomic revolution that is upon us.
Absolutely. So I want to explore the idea of clinically actionable information for a minute. So we know that about 1 in every 2 individuals born today is going to be diagnosed with cancer at some point in their lives. So let's say an employee at XYZ company opts into your Cancer Guardian benefit and then later develops cancer. What happens next?
Yeah, so Cancer Guardian is a comprehensive cancer support program. It can be offered as an employer-paid benefit, shared contribution benefit, or even 100% voluntary. And the aim of Cancer Guardian is to provide affordable access to genetic testing and dedicated services that can improve both prevention and survival. So as we all know, as it relates to anybody who's gone through it or had a loved one or a friend who's been diagnosed, cancer is devastating, it's confusing, it's hard to navigate. And through the Cancer Guardian program, enrollees do get immediate access to hereditary risk screening, access to a cancer concierge, access to risk reduction strategies and caregiving support. But if they are ever diagnosed, at that time, they will be assigned to an oncology-trained nurse who will provide unbiased and objective emotional and practical support for that individual, really help guide them through the fog of cancer. They'll have access to an on-site nurse navigator who can actually go with them to an in-person doctor's appointment. They'll get access to a second opinion pathology review. And then really the most unique aspect of the Cancer Guardian offering is the inclusion of comprehensive genomic profiling of the individual's cancer. So cancer is unique, just like you and I and the listeners all have their own individual DNA. Cancer has its own unique DNA. And cancer is a genetic disease. In fact, it's the most common genetic disease in the United States. Unfortunately, as we all know, the standard of care is typically chemo, radiation, surgery. There's very limited genetic testing that is typically utilized for your average cancer patient. Typically, it's single gene or hotspot testing, which are both very narrow in scope. So through this comprehensive genomic profiling that we provide through the program and make available, it gives cancer patients and their doctors an opportunity to take advantage of a tool that can help unlock the most effective treatment and identify ineffective treatments as well. So, for example, through this comprehensive DNA testing, our lab partners will look at over 300 genes of the cancer itself, and by doing that, this type of testing will help the oncologist identify the genetic driver of the individual's cancer and identify genetically matched treatments that are likely to be most effective. So treatments such as immunotherapies, targeted therapies, and even clinical trials can be identified through this type of testing. Additionally, as we all know, there are cases where chemo can be toxic to an individual. So this type of testing will actually help identify if chemo, for example, will be toxic to the individual. And for some people, chemo can actually kill them more quickly than the cancer. So this type of testing will really help the oncologist and their patient identify the most effective roadmap for their treatment.
So, Nick, there's obviously been a lot of growth in this space, but I'm sure there have been some obstacles as well. What are some of the challenges that WGA is facing right now?
Yeah, I'd say the top three challenges, number one would be balancing innovation with practicality. So how do we make this information, how do we make these services applicable to the average employee so that they can utilize this information in a very impactful way? And the second would be helping people get to the right data based upon the individual's diagnosis, their DNA, where they live, their diagnosis. We can help them identify the most effective treatment options and the most effective care options based upon their specific condition, DNA, environment, location, et cetera. And then the third challenge is really just keeping up with the demand. We've had clients that have asked us if we can go international. Certainly, there is an opportunity to do that, which we will be doing. So we're going through a GDPR as we speak. So I think that's one of our biggest challenges is keeping up with the demand and staying focused on our mission.
Absolutely. So access to someone's genetic information reveals a lot of personal aspects about that person. Can you speak to some of the ethical and privacy-related questions that stem from accessing someone's genetic information?
Sure. So we take security and privacy extremely seriously, and it's arguably the most important aspect of our business. Additionally, we believe your DNA is your DNA. You own it, not a lab, not a healthcare provider, not a pharmaceutical company. You own your DNA. So our company, WGA, does not access any of the genetic data from an individual. There is protection from GINA, which is the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act, which does protect an employee's genetic data from ever being shared with their employer or their health insurer. And on our side, we only work with heavily vetted labs that are CLIA and CAP certified, so they are regulated. And none of our lab partners that we work with sell or share an individual's genetic data. So that is extremely important as it relates to the lab partners that we vet out and ultimately work with. They cannot sell or share an individual's DNA. So it's really paramount that our clients' data is protected and kept private because, as you mentioned, that is a huge concern for consumers and certainly for any employer or broker who would make these types of genomic programs available.
I want to end on a big picture question. What is next for genomics?
Yeah, so my opinion on that is that genomic testing will play an integral role in the prevention of disease. Up until now, the focus, within healthcare and medicine has really been on treating symptoms. Now there's an opportunity to treat the whole person, an opportunity to potentially prevent disease or catch it sooner and personalize the treatment based upon their genomic makeup. The medicine of today is not going to be the medicine of tomorrow. It will be precise, individualized, and customized based on your DNA from the moment you are born.
Thanks, Nick. Really appreciate your time. Before we sign off, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I would just like to thank you for the opportunity to share our thoughts on the genomic revolution, and we look forward to working with brokers and consultants across the country on helping deliver new, innovative genomic solutions to your clients and their employees. So we really appreciate the time, and thank you very much, Katie.
Of course. Thanks again, Nick, and thank you all for listening to CouncilCast. You can listen more on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or SoundCloud. Please subscribe and leave us a review or rating to tell us how we're doing. If you have any questions or comments for us, you can find us at ciab.com, at the CIAB on Twitter, or you can email in at councilcast@ciab.com. See you next time.